we call hot take predictions by the starters. Someone's winning tonight. Big game requires a big broadcaster. That's why Shaq is in the building, along with the entire TNT crew in Houston tonight. Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. There's Ernie Johnson, along with his entire security detail. Watch, he's got personnel all around him. Don't touch her. PK's got him. We are 2 hours from tip-off at Toyota Center. Chris Paul coming off his best game of the series. Will this be the final game of the series in Houston? Or is this best of 3 going the distance? Well, Steph Curry'd like to win the next 2 and make it a 6-game series. Steph says, we've got to be us. But here's the question. Will Steph's splash brother be in the lineup? Injury concerns, topic number 1 tonight, as we are with you with a pair of NCAA and NCAA tournament most outstanding players. Tony Delk back in 96. Got Rip Hamilton back in 99. You guys are old. I'm Jared Greenwood.
Jared, we appreciate that.
Well, who are you going with, the Connecticut team or the Kentucky team?
Well, I grew up in the Northeast, so sorry, Tony.
Okay.
Bam, there you go.
Okay then. All right.
I appreciate that, brother.
But Rip know who will win, though.
Hey.
So he already knows that 96 team.
Hey, that was pretty good, but
Yes.
I don't know if y'all can beat us, but I loved your team, too.
Look at this. I love it. This is game time. We're going to break down the All-NBA teams, which have been announced today. Plus, we'll look ahead to Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals. We know we got a long series there. We got you for the next 60 minutes, leading right into TNT's pregame coverage of Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. First, let's look at the storylines from our Game 4 the other night. Over the last 2 games, Steph Curry has scored a total of 35 points in the third quarter alone, shooting 7 of 10 from three-point territory. However, in the Game 4 loss, Curry missed 7 of his 8 shots in the fourth quarter, which was a big problem. Curry's struggles were compounded by Chris Paul's brilliance. Tuesday night, the future Hall of Famer scored 8 of his 27 in the fourth as the Rockets stormed back from 12 down to win the game and tie the series, but not before some very un-Warrior-like execution. Kevin Durant has since said that he wishes he could have this possession back. Clay got stuck in the quarter. Steve Kerr claims the refs didn't see Draymond Green signaling for timeout. And Golden State saw its win streak of 16 straight home playoff games come to an end. Now here's a look at the numbers behind the Dubs collapse and the Rockets comeback, no matter how you want to look at it here. Golden State extended its lead to 12 with 10:45 to go in the fourth, but then over the rest of the game made just 2 shots from the field. It's not like the Rockets were scorching hot either. Houston hit just under 37% from the field. However, the Rockets dominated the paint and the glass and made the Western Conference Finals a best-of-3 series.
You can't just rely on your talent. When a team's getting into you and they're putting pressure on you and switching everything, you got to execute. It's the basics, it's the fundamentals, getting open, better passing, better ball movement. But it all starts with the force with which you play. Standing and waiting for a ball 30 feet from the hoop, which we were all doing, let's not play with force.
All right, so not much panic there from the Warriors as we bring a guy who never panics, the even-keeled Sekou Smith from NBA.com and the Hang Time Podcast. Sekou joining us tonight courtside from Houston. All right, let's begin here with the obvious, the injury concerns for Klay Thompson and for Andre Iguodala. What's the latest you're hearing?
The latest we're hearing that, Klay is definitely going to play, and that Iguodala is still, to be determined, Jared. It's strange, how different a team they are without Iguodala out there, to kind of calm things down. But Steve Kerr has spoken to that, and it showed up, pretty evident at the end of Game 4, not having him out there, what kind of impact that had on the Warriors at the end of that game.
Yeah, and he mentioned today about the roster imbalance where they don't have a plethora of wings or guards to go to when guys get injured or in foul trouble. So is he going to turn to a big he hasn't used, or what does he expect from guys where he's got a lot of depth at up front?
Yeah, I don't think you should expect to see Zaza Pachulia or anybody like that. I think it's going to still be that same rotation of guys. Bell and certainly Looney are going to have to play big roles. They're going to have to play better. They're going to have to play better, more quality minutes than what we saw from them in Game 4. But Steve Kerr is convinced, and I think, his staff, they've studied all the numbers and everything else. The matchups, tell them that they have to stick with what they've been doing so far. You can't change right now and expect to have success against a Rockets team that, of all the teams in the league that they could be dealing with, this is one that doesn't mind the Warriors going to a smaller lineup because they can match up and play that way as well.
Yeah, a lot of pressure in Game 4 on the Rockets backcourt, seeing if they were able to overcome their playoff demons. Not only did they do that, but they overcame the Warriors' double-digit lead. So when you go to Game 5 here now, back at home, and James Harden, who didn't have a great game but played well in the first half the other night, what is expected of him to pick up the slack tonight?
Well, it's a huge game for him. And, you know, we talk about the Warriors and how every game builds on this dynasty and what their legacies are going to be. Well, this is a game for James Harden, and to a lesser extent Chris Paul, changes a legacy. You know, if James Harden can dial up an MVP-like performance today, that gives him another notch in his belt to kind of wipe away the smear that he's had from his previous stints in the playoffs. Everybody talks about his 2012 flameout when he was with the Thunder, and obviously last year against the Spurs when he just ran out of glass completely. People look at that and want to criticize him and take apart his game because of what they saw then. This is an opportunity for him to get rid of some of that and to start a new narrative.
All right, Sekou Smith, NBA.com. He'll be covering the game for you tonight from Houston. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Thanks, Jerry.
Let's get to tonight's Limelight stats. They're presented by Corona Extra. Take a look at the Warriors and the way their offense has operated against the Spurs and the Pelicans, and then how it's operated over the first 4 games of this series against the Rockets. And let's say this, too. Right, Houston's a better defensive team than a lot of people want them credit for. Maybe they have a lot to do with this here. Is that the case? Is it more about Houston, or is it more about the Warriors getting away, Rip, from their identity?
Well, I definitely think Houston has better defenders, and especially better defenders on the perimeter. When you got guys like P.J. Tucker that sometimes plays the 4 position and is able to go out there and switch on a Steph Curry, it allows them to still stay connected and still stick to their principles. So if you watch some of these plays right here, especially late in the game when Steph Curry got the ball, you see Capella, he gets up and he tries to take away his airspace, because if Steph Curry has any type of weakness, is getting to the basket and finishing over a bigger guy. So Capella does a great job of staying low, staying connected, and staying to his body. Again, if you watch Klay Thompson right now catching the ball this far away from the basketball, he's not the type of player that wants to go ahead and make a play off a dribble penetration. He wants to come off a pin down, get a curl, and get a wide open shot like that. Now they have to hurry up, force the ball to KD, and he got to take a pressure shot with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Again, same thing with Steph Curry. Right here, he hasn't been able to get shots off pin downs, off dribble handoffs. So what they try to do is try to find a matchup that he can create and make a play off. But James Harden, again, does a great job taking out his airspace, forces him to drive, but Steph doesn't want to drive every time, so he settles for a bad 3-point shot. So I think Houston Rockets got defenders, guys that can really get up in guys and take away guys what guys like to do on the offensive end.
And when they built this team around James Harden, they had to have guys that make sure they hide his weaknesses. Mm-hmm. But when he's guarding Kevin Durant, you know, because of respect, he's going to play a lot harder. You saw when he picked him from the half court at the NBA 3-point line, he was able to go down and get a layup. But I just think the toughness that they have with Tucker, Reza, CP3, those guys are looking forward to a matchup with anyone. They are not concerned about if it's Steph, if it's Klay. It doesn't matter.
Didn't James Harden show us the other night, though, that the effort can be there, right? Like, you don't have to be the best defender in the world if you put in that effort on both ends?
But he respects the guy he's guarding. Mm-hmm. So if he's ever switched off on KD or Steph, he's going to get down in the stands. You're going to see him play much better defense than he would be on someone he doesn't respect or someone who's not going at him. Right. So you can't really, when you get to the Final Four teams, it's all about execution, but also your players have to be ready to play defense, because you can't be looking for someone to help. That starts to get rotations, and before you know it, you're going to give up a layup or a 3-point shot.
We'll watch that tonight and see if he's playing defense every possession the way James Harden did the other night. We got more from Game 5 in Houston coming up in a bit. We'll return and get into the best of the best, the top 15 players, well, kind of, the All-NBA teams announced in the 17-18 season. Who's got beef?
It hasn't been very Warriors-like in the way that they've played. We are so accustomed to seeing them move the ball and sharing the wealth. That certainly was not the story in Game 4. Not only that, but missed shots and a questionable sequence to close the game, which Steve Kerr admits maybe didn't go the way it should have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, every single game that I coach, I look back at the tape and second-guess myself. But it's exposed during the playoffs, you know, because the stakes are higher. So I didn't sleep very well last night. There were some things I could have done better. Our players feel the same way.
You guys are pissed off, but encouraged as well. You know, like, you know, I love the way this team responds when our back is against the wall. You know, I don't mind our backs being against the wall because I know, what we're capable of, and I know the level of focus and intensity level that this team bring when that is the case.
I woke up this morning thinking we played that bad in the fourth quarter, lost by 3 points, played a solid defensive game, and like I said, we have a great track record of how we bounce back. So put a smile on my face, getting on the plane coming down here. So looking for the opportunity tomorrow.
One thing that will make the Warriors feel more confident and comfortable is the fact that their coach Steve Kerr seems pretty confident Klay Thompson, though questionable officially, will play, and that they're hoping to have Andre Iguodala as well, which I know, Griff, you think is a big factor. Let me ask you about the necessary arrogance, maybe, or the confidence that the Warriors are exuding after what happened in Game 4. Are you buying into that from Golden State?
Well, I am and I'm not. I mean, what's he supposed to say? We messed up and we can't possibly win. I mean, of course he's going to put on the happy face. I think the one thing that you know for certain is this group does have, I don't want to call it arrogance, I think they have the comfort and the trust that comes from being the 3 straight finals. In the case of Kevin Durant, winning finals MVP, winning a championship your first year with those guys. They know what to expect from each other. I think it's been a problem they've had all year in terms of appropriate fear. They've been very confident throughout this, and I think what Houston did was give them a wake-up call. This is a 65-win team. Houston's the #1 seed. And Golden State is very, very aware of that now from front office on down.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Griff. I think no matter what, you look at this Houston team, this is a team, like you said, was the #1 seed. No matter what, we love the Golden State Warriors. They've proven over the years. Obviously, they've been to 3 straight finals. But the next 2 out of 3 games are in Houston. And I look at it as that has to be somewhat a play on your mind. But I think I'm with you. I don't think it's arrogance for them. I think if you're a champion, you got to have this type of confidence and swag and understand is that we got to go in and we got to feel you can win, because I don't think you can go in there second-guessing yourself against the Houston Rockets. This is going to be a good game. This Game 5 is going to reveal a lot from both sides.
Being fair, and look, obviously Draymond should have confidence in his team, so he says our backs are against the wall. I feel comfortable. The backs haven't often been against the wall the way that they are now. Got to give Houston a lot of credit. Have you ever, Smitty, seen a Mike D'Antoni team? Maybe he didn't have the horses to do so, but have you ever seen a team that he's run play the kind of defense with the effort that they played in the second half?
For me is I haven't seen too many Mike D'Antoni teams win some games off defensively. And obviously this team has the firepower offensively, but I love what they've done and brought in guys that want to just compete. And I've never seen them win ugly games. They can win ugly now with the group they have right now. They have some guys that just come out and they can challenge you, and they want to hit you first at times, which is good for the Houston Rockets.
Got to give Chris Paul a ton of credit. A lot of people question Griff, rightfully so or not. Well, how many times should he have won with the Clippers, and what about the pedigree? Puts up 41 to close out the last series. Has been brilliant the last couple of games of this one.
He had one sequence in that last game where he hit the step-back 3 falling away versus Klay. And then on the inbounds pass, makes that long-reaching scoop to the corner for the 3. That was really, I think, in a nutshell, playoff Chris Paul. That's who he has to be. He has to dominate for segments of games and carry them as a leader, because that's not who James Harden is. And what makes these guys special is that they need Chris to be a pit bull. They need that mentality. Maybe that didn't fit as well with the Clippers. You never really know what the dynamics are like in a team until you're there. Mike D'Antoni needs Chris Paul to be that guy. They're a perfect fit for one another.
We needed a series, and we got one. I can't wait to see what happens. Coming up in game number 5, you can get all the action Thursday on TNT, and as always, catch us before and then after with all the coverage on Game Time. It's almost time for the draft. We'll be there with coverage of it again. Is there a Donovan Mitchell in this year's class?